guys, so I wanted to talk for a little bit about something I think is extremely important, and it's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand very well, so I thought I would address it. So I see and I hear about a lot of people who are just struggling to lose weight. They eat so little food and they exercise so much, and they're in such a deep energy deficit, and nothing happens still. No weight loss, no change of weight, maybe even sometimes they'll gain weight. What they need to understand is that such a drastic caloric deficit is just not healthy or effective for anyone trying to lose weight, especially if they're a beginner. So this is actually a physiologic phenomenon. It's called metabolic adaptation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind it. So the first thing you need to understand is that the human body is extremely resilient. It doesn't like change and it opposes change. So for any weight loss that you're trying to make happen, your body has a bunch of different physiologic mechanisms in place in order to combat whatever you're trying to do. And this is a good thing because it's kind of our primal form of avoiding starvation. But at the same time, like I said, if you're trying to lose weight, it's going to oppose that and make it more difficult for you. So during weight loss, there are two things that happen. One is you impose a caloric deficit. You're either increasing the amount of exercise you perform or you're decreasing the amount of food you take in, or both. Number two would be we begin to lose body mass, whether that's fat mass or muscle mass or both. Generally, obviously, you want it to be fat mass. So to keep this brief and simple, the most notable changes and adaptations that occur are, number one, you have your increased mitochondrial efficiency. Basically, you have less calories that are burned to produce the same amount of ATP. Number two would be that you decrease your energy expenditure, which just means that your metabolic rate is slowing down. And number three is that you're going to have elevations in certain hormones that promote catabolism and hunger, such as ghrelin, whereas you're also going to have decreases in certain important hormones that promote anabolism and energy expenditure and just keeping yourself full generally, with the most notable being the very important hormone called leptin. I'll make another video sometime about leptin because it has a whole lot of different functions and a lot more than beyond what I can talk about in this video. Just keep in mind that this hormone is absolutely crucial for fat loss. So what are the effects of these adaptations? As you can imagine, these adaptations, they directly go up against weight loss goals. Changes in your mitochondrial efficiency and energy expenditure, they decrease your energy deficit, which also slows your weight loss. Basically, what this would mean is that if you, in a healthy state, do a half an hour cardio and you burn 500 calories, now that you're in this new state where your metabolism's go down, those 30 minutes of cardio might only burn 300 calories. And this is actually decreasing your energy deficit, and it's going to slow your weight loss. So on top of that, you also have hormonal changes that make it difficult to maintain muscle. They'll actually threaten your energy levels and your general mood state, and they're also going to increase your hunger. So the effects of these adaptations, they kind of extend beyond the weight loss phase, because then you can think about it, well, once you met your goal, what's going to happen? So even after you've lost weight, the research kind of shows that many of these adaptations continue even as you're trying to maintain your new body weight or your new body. These adaptations have decreased your metabolic rate, and they've increased your hunger levels, and they've also set you up for a huge rebound. So if you don't practice restraint after you finish your diet, you're going to end up gaining a lot more weight than you would have otherwise. So this will actually require that you need to be just as calculated and strict about things as soon as you finish your diet as you were while you were dieting down. On top of that, there's a lot of research that shows that the weight you gain back in this whole rebounding period is actually stored as fat, and generally only as fat. This can lead to a phenomenon known as post-starvation obesity, or body fat overshooting. This is kind of like this overcompensation that I was talking about. And so in this scenario, the dieter actually regains more fat than they lost during the diet, and ultimately this diminishes the progress made throughout the diet, and it makes the future dieting attempts more difficult as well. So now on to the solutions. What can be done to avoid metabolic adaptations? So I guess first of all, you need to understand that you can't entirely avoid metabolic adaptations. Basically, the body was designed with these functions as a means of keeping us alive and avoiding times of starvation. But you can minimize these effects by proper dieting techniques and through certain exercise techniques as well. So remember, I'm not necessarily laying out the following points to tell you how to lose weight. My main goal is to advise you on how to avoid the unhealthy metabolic adaptations that, or even metabolic syndrome that you could encounter while on your weight loss journey. So, number one, I would say eat enough protein. So obviously adequate amounts of protein are important. It has the highest thermic effect of any macronutrient, and it's very good at keeping you full and satiated. Along with that, it'll help with the retention of your lean mass in an energy deficit, and it'll also maintain your metabolic rate. So the same can be said for participation in a structured and well-designed resistance training program. So theoretically, the magnitude of these adaptations is likely related to the size of the energy deficit, and this means that larger energy deficits signify more urgent energy crisis to your body. So it's advised to impose the smallest possible energy deficit that can kind of result in appreciable weight loss. So when weight loss begins to stall, you just want to make slight conservative adjustments in either your exercise or your diet or both, in order to kind of compensate for the slight slowing of your metabolism. So I think it's a good goal to try to lose around 1 pound per week for most people. For the more obese individuals, you could probably lose more than that, but I would say if you can stick to 1 or 2 pounds a week, you're generally going to be losing mainly fat mass, not muscle. I mean, granted, you're going to lose some muscle regardless. That's just kind of the nature of fat loss. But like I said, for the more obese patients, there's usually more variation seen between their fat loss as far as how many pounds per week they can lose and still maintain their lean mass. So people have to remember that weight loss isn't an overnight goal. It takes a ton of time and patience, but in the end it's obviously all worth it. So number 2, I would say, is get smart with your cardio. So unfortunately, cardio often comes kind of as a necessity when fat loss is the goal. In some cases, it can be best to keep cardio actually as minimal as possible throughout the fat loss phase. Not only can cardio potentially cut into your recovery time from resistance training, it can actually interfere with the effects of concurrent training, and it might be counterproductive. Not always, but it can be. So obviously, cardio is still necessary for fat loss. However, it might be best to avoid things that are high-impact modalities, that are long durations, or low intensity. So a good recommendation would be to use a mix of moderate intensity cardio and high intensity interval training on a stationary bike. Those are definitely solid choices. So number 3, I would say utilize refeeds. Periodic carbohydrate refeeds are currently very, very popular in the sports and fitness worlds. So theoretically, they may help to influence the body's metabolic rate and your fullness by temporarily elevating your leptin levels in the body, which, like I said, is a very important hormone for fat loss, but there still needs to be more research on the topic. So the frequency of refeeds really depends on a lot of factors too. That's the other thing, is that for more obese individuals, they might benefit most from a refeed every 2 weeks or so, but for the lower body fat individuals, like the physique athletes, they might have to go as often as every 2 to 3 to 4 days. It really all depends on the person. There are a lot of different factors that come into play. So I guess to just kind of conclude, there are certain metabolic adaptations that accompany your energy restriction and your weight loss. And these adaptations, which are very important survival mechanisms to avoid starvation, they also generally serve to increase your mitochondrial efficiency and decrease your metabolic rate. And this overall will reduce your caloric deficit. So I'm not saying that metabolic adaptation is kind of the boogeyman for fat loss or anything, but I will say that it definitely opposes your weight loss goals. So although metabolic adaptation is not entirely avoidable, a well-planned approach to your training and your nutrition can likely minimize these adaptations and promote a more effective and successful healthy weight loss. And that by using some of these sound weight loss strategies, you can lose weight more effectively and increase the likelihood of maintaining that weight loss. And in the end, you can set yourself up for improved body composition and performance down the road. So that's all I've got for you guys. Thanks for watching.